but try to understand because it's not for you, which runs totally against what this Quran was meant to create. That's one. And second, unfortunately, also many Muslims are under the impression that I know my religion. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing it. So why do I need more? Yes. I know that when Ramadan comes, I have to fast. And I get to pray those 5 prayers a day. And so why do I need this? And I already know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm doing it. If you have that impression, that kills any incentive to study the Quran. And you just compare that to the situation with the companions. Situation of the companions was completely different because these people, they made big commitment to a big job with big goals. They made a big commitment, which is when they declared Shahada, they made a commitment to the destination, which is to pursue the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever it takes. That's what they signed on. So they made that commitment, and they knew that there is a big job or a big mission that they're going to fulfill with big goals to achieve. So they needed guidance, they needed support. That's why they were so eager to receive more Quran. And that's why they go to prayer. Prayer had different meaning. Prayer for them is it's like when you take your car to the gas station. That's where they refuel and recharge, because there is a huge mission and challenge that they're facing. So they need that. They need that spiritual refueling in the prayer, and they need the guidance of the Quran, etc. You compare that to Muslims who think already there is no mission that they committed themselves to. They committed themselves to few tasks and they're doing them. And that's one of the major reasons why we're not really leveraging the Quran. And we should overcome that, this. The other thing is, many of us are not familiar with the style of the Quran or the styles of the Quran. And if you are not familiar, you may not leverage what you are reading. Quran has different styles. It has direct styles, do and don't do. It has indirect styles. These are the people with whom Allah is pleased, and then tells you what they were doing. These are the people with whom Allah is not pleased, and that's what they're doing. All of these are direct message to you. Goes back to the nations before us, and that's what they were doing. They were doing things that Allah did not like. That's to tell you that you shouldn't do the same thing again. Or goes to the Day of Judgment and bring scenes from Day of Judgment to tell you about the outcome of different category of people, just to tell you that you should be among those people, not these people, etc. So if you're not familiar with those styles, you may just you read about the people of Musa or the people, you think that it's just story. No, it's not. These are messages. They're just conveyed in a different ways. The other thing that we have to keep in mind in order to leverage the Quran very well, if we have that incentive, if we really renew that commitment and make the same commitment that the companions have made, and therefore we start seeing the need for us to reflect on the Quran and the need for us to pray prayers, etc., because that's refueling and recharging. In addition to all of that and to the styles of the Quran, also one thing that we need to know, that this Quran is a manual to build the individual and the community that is expected to fulfill that mission and achieve those goals of their religion. So this is a manual. If you don't have that in the background, you may miss a lot of it. You always have this in the background, that this is working on your mindset, working on your hearts, working on your spirituality, working on your character. Why? To shape you into the role model and into the person who's going to carry that mission successfully. That's for you as an individual. And then as a community, it does the same thing. It builds, shapes that community. And you can see that a lot of time, even that prophetic community has some weaknesses. And Quran was working on this and fixing them and revealing and shedding lights on those weaknesses so that to fix them. Yeah, that's important. Yes.
Brother Walid, it's just the first time. Add some more information or elaborate about the mission and the goals.
That's a good question. Yeah. This one of the best kept secret in Islam is that this religion is not a religion in the traditional sense of the word, and it's not even a way of life. Because nowadays, that if somebody wants really to say Islam, no, it's not a religion; it's a way of life. No, it's more than that. It's because way of life may imply that it's something that you live by, not you advocate. No, this religion is a life mission. It's a mission that you embrace, you decide to embrace, and it is a life mission. And also, that was spelled out in many parts of the Quran. It was called Islah, which is making this world a better place, justice, establishing justice, developing this earth, Amar, Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy al Munkar. Wherever you are, you promote that which is good and try to reduce anything that is wrong. Da'wah, meaning that this is universal message that is supposed to reach to everybody. And there is no prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so it became the job of the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to convey it. Of course, convey it the right way. And this religion did not come to give us some rituals to fulfill, but these rituals are tools. This religion came to achieve goals, and these goals also can be seen or can be concluded from the Quran and from the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mentioned some of them. Justice is the ultimate goal of Islam. And all of these, there are evidence for them. Peace to prevail in this world, for people to be very secure and to live in peace, etc. That's a major goal of Islam. For dignity, human dignity to be preserved. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dignified human. Actually, this religion tells us even animals have to be treated the right way or the proper way. So human dignity, freedom, of course, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created people free and nobody can take that from them, and gave them even the freedom to choose the religion itself or not choose it. So virtue, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants this world to be more morally sound. And then, of course, prosperity. This is not unlike what we were told. This is not a religion of poverty, because we were told, I think many Muslims are in the impression that maybe it's even better to be poor to be good Muslim. That's not true. And the Prophet died while he was poor, and all of this is nonsense. That's not true. This is a religion that promotes prosperity and development, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala urges us to discover the rules that He embedded in this universe and to leverage them, and that's science. And the whole purpose of science is to improve the quality of life. So, and that's what Muslims done when they properly understood the religion. That's what they did. They were at the forefront of physical sciences and even social sciences and arts and everything. So excelling perfecting everything that you do and excelling in it is a key element in our religion. So basically this whole thing that we're doing here, and especially and also in Jumu'ah, is under the theme that we, all of us here, came to conclusion that we need to rediscover our religion. Not only ourselves, but Muslims in general, they need to rediscover their religion, because the versions that we inherited compared to the true one, they just look similar. It's like jewelry, the real jewelry and the fake jewelry. They look similar, but they are very different in value. I don't think anybody can convince me or can make the case that a religion that took a few dozens of Bedouins in the middle of nowhere, who are very poor and in tribal societies and fighting each other all the time. So they were in a condition that you can, it hardly could be worse. Yeah. That's probably, and this religion turned them into leaders of great civilization and champions of great civilization. You're gonna tell me that that's the same religion that is embraced by 1.5 billion Muslims who are irrelevant in the world? No, we can't. I mean, there is no way we can twist it, no matter how much you tweak it or twist it, you can't. I mean, there is something that was embraced by a small number of poor people and illiterate, etc. And that's what it did. And there is something embraced by 1.5 billion Muslims who are largely irrelevant in the world. And someone wants me to believe that these two are the same thing. No, they look alike. And we pray the same way. And we fast in Ramadan. We don't fast in a different month, but there is no comparison. And we need to rediscover that original true faith if we want to become relevant again, and if we really want to, and if we want Allah to be pleased with us, because Allah definitely, if we use our minds and logic, cannot be pleased with Muslims in this situation. They were not meant to be in this situation. So that's, so we reached verse 87.
That's what I wanted to ask. But which
Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, verse 87. Now, this is very typical in Quran. Every new passage or many new passages will start with a Tawheed. Tawheed and the belief in the hereafter. So when you are familiar with the style of the Quran, you know that's the beginning of new passage, and that's basically, can I get your attention? That's the Allahu la ilaha illahu la yajma'annakum ila yawm al-qiyamati la rayba fihi wa man asdaqu min Allahi haditha. So if you're not aware of this, you may wonder why it's reminding us of, so this is verse 87. It has both. It has the oneness of Allah and the belief in the Day of Judgment. He is Allah. There is no God but Him. He will gather you all together on the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt. Whose word can be truer than God's? Now again, this is new passage, so it starts with to alert you or to get your attention, reminding whoever is reading Quran that that's your commitment, the commitment you made. And now we're going to tell you what you need to do to honor it. So that's the purpose of repeating this all the time. So there is, in the beginning of every passage, there is sometimes a touch of Tawheed. And then at the end of every verse, you will find those names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of this is just to remind you, because that's the foundation, that everything is built on it. So now you are ready. When you are reminded of the commitment you made, So you are ready to receive instruction or to receive guidance. Why? Because the biggest incentive for Muslims to do what they're supposed to do is seeking the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unfortunately, the concept of Tawheed was messed up, become so dry and so shallow and superficial because of some schools of thoughts. They turned into cliche like Tawheed uluhiyya. It means that the Tawheed rububiyyah, etc. They mean nothing. I mean, just the words, sentences that people memorize. No, Tawheed is that vibrant relationship between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has all aspects of that relationship, that is love and reverence and the tawakkul and dependence on Allah, and gratitude, and all of these. So Tawheed is, it's like taqwa. It's a very loaded word. It summarizes all aspects of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah la ilaha illahu, when you are reminded of the two biggest incentive for you to do good and to push yourself, believe in Allah and in the hereafter. That's why Rasulullah started number of hadith by saying, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawm al-akhir, falyukrim dayfahu. Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawm al-akhir." So whoever believes in Allah on the Day of Judgment, and then Rasul will tell you that's what you need to do. So that's very similar context. فما لكم في المنافقين فئتين والله أركسهم بما كسبوا أتريدون أن تهدوا من أضل الله ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا ودوا لو تكفرون كما كفروا فتكونون سواء ولا تتخذوا منهم أولياء حتى يهاجروا في سبيل الله فإن تولوا فخذوهم واقتلوهم حيث وجدتموهم ولا تتخذوا منهم وليا ولا نصيرا. طيب. These are group of hypocrites. These are not the hypocrite of Medina, because the hypocrite of Medina, they had different rules. Now, most of these verses are international relations, not inside the Medina, dealing with other people. So, and by the way, we're talking about the world at that time. The world had no rules. This was law of the jungle. So Quran is establishing rules that Muslims are abiding by, even if other people do not abide by them. So these are rules. That's what you can do. That's what you cannot do with this category, with that category, as we're going to see. So we're switching from internal matters of the community now to external relations. So these are not the hypocrite of the Medina. What is it? Believers, why are you divided in two about the hypocrites? First of all, that by itself tells you again that prophetic community was not a community of Superman. They were human beings, so they have their own shortcomings and weaknesses, etc. So they had different of opinions about hypocrites or about certain groups. Definitely, they are hostile groups. So Islam does not talk, as we're going to see later, those who opt for peace, go for peace. So always that's a preferred option for Islam. But these are hostile people, and Muslims were divided among them. To tell you that the idea that the companions are Superman or perfect people, no. They were human beings, and this Quran made them the people we know. Quran worked on those shortcomings. So they were divided about those. So some of them say, these people, because they say that they are Muslim, we just have to deal with them as Muslims. And the others will say that because their action is hostile, they're saying that because out of hypocrisy, not truth. So there was division of opinion among Muslims. That's the first part. Why are you divided into about the hypocrites? When Allah Himself has rejected them because of what they have done. That's an amazing piece here. Wallahu arkasahum bima kasabu. Allah misguided them because they chose misguidance. It's not like Allah misguides somebody. Arkasahum bima kasab. So bad intention, bad action, Allah قل من كان في الضلالة فليمدد له الرحمن مدا. يعني you choose that path. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide except those who want to be guided, those who make the first step. والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا. So, but these أركسهم بما كسبوا. Because sometimes this debate is why if Allah prescribed on people to be misguided, why he holds them accountable? No, there is no such thing. There is no prescription. There is knowledge. There is Allah knows. But the knowledge of Allah does not make you, or does not does not take away your responsibility about your action. It's like, for example, just to bring the idea close. Now you know your child very well, or your student very well, and you know how your child is gonna deal with something or handle a situation, or how a student is gonna do in a test. As a professor, you know the student is gonna fail the test. But does this mean the student is not responsible for his studying? No. You know from that this student, because they're not making the effort, they're not attending class, they're not doing homework, etc., they're gonna fail. But that knowledge does not take away the responsibility of the Wallahu arkasahum bima kasabu. Aturiduna an tahdu man adalla Allah wa man yudlil Allah falan tajid lahu sabila. Aturiduna an tahdu man adalla Allah. Do you want to guide those Allah has left to stray? That's good translation. Has left to stray. It's not like misguided. They chose to go astray and Allah left them. If Allah leaves anyone to stray, you, Prophet, will never find the way for him. Now, you may think that this language is harsh, but look at what these people are doing. Next verse. وَدُّوا لَوْ تَكْفُرُونَ كَمَا كَفَرُوا. They would dearly like you to reject faith as they themselves have done, to be like them. So we're talking about people, not only they are hostile, people they're conspiring to make you abandon your religion. People have their plan, they're doing everything, and keep in mind this religion is still fragile. Religion of many people like have been there in Islam for weeks only, or for months, or for days. And these conspiracies, they can have an effect. So وَدُّوا لَوْ تَكْفُرُونَ كَمَا كَفَرُوا. It's not like they're hostile people or Islam. وَإِنْ جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا. As we'll see, always peace is the option. And fighting is the exception and the necessity. So وَدُّوا لَوْ تَكْفُرُونَ كَمَا كَفَرُوا فَتَكُونُونَ سَوَاءً. فَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا مِنْهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءَ حَتَّى يُهَاجِرُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. So do not take them as allies until they migrate to Medina for Allah's cause. Now these people are claiming to be Muslims, and at that time every Muslim was asked to migrate to Medina. So but that's the test. You didn't migrate to Medina, so you're not serious. That's one. And second, you're conspiring against this community and against their faith. So these are not kuffar who are at peace with Muslims, because there is no compulsion in religion. Somebody chose to not to. We'll see later on that there are other groups with whom Muslims have covenant and have treaties, are non-Muslims. So these are people who are claiming to be Muslims, one, and they don't want to migrate to Medina, and actually their action is conspiring against the community and their faith. Do not take them as allies until they migrate to Medina for Allah's cause. If they turn on you, then seize and kill them wherever you encounter them. These are clear enemies and people who are constantly conspiring against the community. And then do not take them as allies. That tells you also, I mean, comes back to take none of them as an ally or supporter in the same verse that tells you that there are some members in the prophetic community who are not taking strong stand, because there are some tribal relationships that are still there. It's a very tribal society. And yes, Islam came to build a new community based not on tribal foundations, but on a mission and a religion, and then later on a constitution and citizenship in Medina. But still, there are people who are still attached to their tribes. So that's why they were divided. That's why there was some weakness in the stand. And that's why in the same verse, they don't take them as allies. So now the next verse tells you the principle in Islam is peace, it's not war. There is no such thing as going and initiate attacks or fight people. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ يَصِلُونَ. Just imagine this category of people who are hypocrite, because there is a big difference between someone who says, don't choose Islam, and they are at peace with you. These people are hypocrite and they're conspiring. Yet Quran says, if they go to a place or they resort or take refuge in a tribe or in a group of people with whom you have treaty, then your hands off on them. You should not. إلا الذين يصلون إلى قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق. This is when law of the jungle was there. There was no international law. There was no United Nations. There was nothing. And Quran limits Muslims, says this person who is an enemy and hostile and conspiring, but takes refuge like today's asylum. No. Now, talking about asylum at that time, somebody is your enemy, conspiring, and takes refuge in a tribe. It's not a Muslim tribe. It's a tribe with whom you have treaty. That's it. Now just compare that to Muslims nowadays. Some Muslims, in the name of Islam, they take refuge in a country and they kill the people in that country in the name of Islam. Yeah, it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. Here, somebody is your enemy and takes refuge or asylum with a tribe with whom you have a treaty. That's it. Cannot do anything to him. إلا الذين exception. إلا الذين يصلون إلى قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق. We're talking about at that time, having this law of asylum that you have to honor it. You as Muslim have to honor it regardless whether other people honor or they continue with the law of jungle, they have to live with these rules. إلا الذين يصلون إلى قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق أو جاءوكم حصرت صدورهم أن يقاتلوكم أو يقاتلوا قومهم. They chose neutrality. Their people or their nation is a hostile, but they come and say we have nothing to do. We're not going to fight against you or with you. We choose neutrality. That's it. We choose neutrality. You can just see how this religion from that time establishing these rules and how Muslims until this day they don't live by those. But as for those who seek refuge with people with whom you have a treaty, or who come over to you because their hearts forbid them to fight against you or against their own people, they chose to be neutral to that level of details. There is no such thing as collateral damage. There are people who say we don't want to, we're not fighting with you or against you. We want to be neutral. That's it. They are out of the. They're going to be part of the exceptions. And then telling Muslim, Allah could have given them power over you, just to tell Muslim that to restrain themselves. Because these people who chose neutrality, Allah could have given power, give them power over you, and they would have fought you. Yahmdu Rabbi. You should be thankful that they chose neutrality, because Allah could have, and He gave them power over you, and they would have fought you. So if they withdraw and do not fight you and offer you peace, then Allah gives you no way against them. And I don't know how it can be clearer than this. That this is, when we say Islam, unfortunately nowadays we find it hard to say that Islam is a religion of peace, because people can be laughing at us, what kind of peace you're talking about. But it is true. That's what it's saying. أو لو شاء الله لسلطهم عليكم فنعتزلوكم. They just chose neutrality. وألقوا إليكم السلام فما جعل الله لكم عليهم سبيلا. This is, even by today's standards, is very hard. But by the standards of that time, is something like science fiction. You're talking about somebody, an enemy, but just because they managed to reach a tribe with whom you have a treaty, that's it. You have no way over that person, or someone from hostile nation comes to you and say, choose neutrality. And then, what do you need more than this? That this is definitely, it's a religion for peace, because even the verse that many Muslims or many people use to justify, which is وَأَعَدُّ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَرِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ, that you gather all the forces that you can gather, that was meant to deter people from attacking you. Because the verses goes on to say, وَإِن جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا. So you become strong not to attack people. You become strong so that nobody will attack you, which is very common principle even nowadays, deterrence. I mean, that's why countries keep always improving and upgrading their weapons, not like to fight, but so that nobody attacks them. So there is no, this principle which is فَإِنْ اعْتَزَلُوكُمْ فَلَمْ يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ. If they choose not to fight you and they're offering peace, you have no way over them. This is very consistent with the verse which I find very fundamental and very foundational when it comes to matter of fighting. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. It's a verse in Surah Al-Baqarah. I don't know how can people neglect that and go for other verses that are contextuals. This verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, it's a verse of, it's a principle. What is it? Yeah, it's Surah 2, Baqarah, verse 190. It's a very foundational verse. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ. So fight those who are fighting you. وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. And do not exceed the limits. Yani somebody is coming to attack you. If you are able to push them back, that's it. Do not exceed your limits. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. It's the same principle confirmed here. فإن اعتزلوكم فلم يقاتلوكم وألقوا إليكم السلم فما جعل الله لكم عليهم سبيلا. It's exactly the same principle. So fight those who are fighting you over there in Surah Al-Baqarah, and do not go beyond what they call fair retaliation or self-defense. ولا تعتدوا. Do not go over the limits. And here says, those who choose not to fight you, you have no way over them. فإن اعتزلوكم فلم يقاتلوكم وألقوا إليكم السلم فما جعل الله لكم عليهم سبيلا. ستجدون آخرين يريدون أن يأمنوكم ويأمنوا قومهم. These in today's language they call them double spy, people who are working for ستجدون آخرين يريدون أن يأمنوكم ويأمنوا قومهم كلما ردوا إلى الفتنة أركسوا فيها. Again, فإن لم يعتزلوا ويلقوا إليكم السلام ويكفوا أيديهم. Look at the conditions. Unless if they do any of these things, that's it. You have no way over them. فخذوهم واقتلوهم حيث ثقفتموهم وأولئكم جعلنا لكم عليهم سلطانا مبينا. You're talking about people. Look how many options they were given. That's verse 91. You will find others who wish to be safe from you and from their own people. These are playing that dual game. And from their own people. But whenever they are back in a situation where they are tempted to fight you, they succumb to it. And whenever they find the chance to fight you, they will do it. That's the group of people. That's a different group of people. If they neither withdraw, that's the first option they were given, nor offer you peace, nor restrain themselves from fighting you. Of course, I mean, these are, and what is left then? They chose not to withdraw, they chose not to restrain themselves from fighting you, and they refuse to offer peace. Yeah. No, offer you peace. Seize and kill them wherever you encounter them. Will give you clear authority against such people. You can see how many exceptions, and that's the norm, etc. And these are special group of people who are playing that dual role. And whenever they find a chance to fight you, they're fighting you. And they chose not to withdraw from the fight, nor to offer peace, nor to restrain themselves from fighting. Like, what is left now? If you don't do that, you're going to become very weak. Anybody will be tempted to to mess up with you. I mean, if you allow this special category of people. So this page is extremely important for this very delicate issue, which totally messed up and confused with jihad, and people are using things that happened in history as a matter of being, and that you are allowed to go and attack people and take their wealth and women and children as spoils of. What is this? What is this for? Where? Yeah? Where do you find that? Yeah, these are the principles of our religion. The verses in some verses in Surah Tawbah and others, they are very contextual verses. They're relevant to certain context, but they are not. These are the principles that have been emphasized over and over again. So let's stop here to catch. It's 1 o'clock, the prayer. Yeah. طيب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.